Hello, everyone. This is our practical part of knitting the raglan from the top with sleeves and the back yoke. You will find the theoretical part below the video. It will be in the link. We covered everything here last time. We drew, wrote, and calculated everything. And now we will knit our back yoke based on the stitches. So, I will knit using the first option, meaning I will only include the stitches of the sleeves. I will not knit the front stitches when creating the back yoke, because I am making a children's size. The sweater is for my son, and I don't think it's necessary to include the front stitches. But I believe that by knitting this way with me, you will easily complete a couple more rows. And then your back yoke will begin approximately from these points. That is, it will start with the front. Therefore, I am not looking at our drawing. We illustrated how to knit the front stitches here. My scheme will be this one. So I should have 84 stitches, plus 1 stitch to join the knitting in a circle. I am using needles number 3.5. For now, I took short needles for easier knitting. Later, I will switch to longer ones, I think. So, I cast on 84 stitches plus 1 stitch. I have 85 stitches on my needles. Let's make sure our stitches are not twisted, so that our braid is inside the needles. And now we will join our knitting in a circle. I think everyone already knows how to do this join, but I will show it once more. So with the right needle, we pick up the first stitch we cast on and transfer to the right needle. Then, with the left needle, we pick up the last stitch we cast on and place it over the transferred one. Then, we slide it off the left needle. We pull the yarn tight. As a result, we have decreased 1 stitch. The stitch that we created, the one remaining, is transferred to the left needle. We should have 1 less stitch on the needles. I have 84 stitches. Now, I will knit the first row straight without making any increases for the raglan lines. I will simply place markers, so the beginning of my knitting will be right here. Before the raglan line, where my knitting starts, I will place a marker. I have a green one. Next, I immediately have the raglan line. I have 2 stitches here. I will immediately knit 2 knit stitches. We are knitting in the round, so knit stitches through the front loop. 1 stitch and the second. I will have stockinette stitch. Therefore, I will always knit through the front loop for knit stitches. This is my raglan line, 2 stitches. However, I usually mark this raglan line not on the sides by placing markers, but one inside. That means I will mark right here inside with a marker, and then I won't have to use many markers. That means I will have 1 marker for 1 raglan line between 2 stitches. That's it. My raglan line is knitted. Next, I need to knit 25 knit stitches to the next raglan line. "25 knit stitches are done." Now it goes to my next raglan line. Here, there should be 2 stitches. So, I knit the first stitch as a knit stitch to the first stitch of the raglan line. Next, between the first and second, I place a marker and knit the second stitch of the raglan line as a knit through the front loop. That's it. I have marked my second raglan line, and now I need to knit 10 knit stitches right here. I have reached the next raglan line. I also knit the first of the 2 stitches. Then I place a marker and knit the second stitch of the raglan line. Now let's knit 31 stitches as knit stitches. This is our front. Next comes our next raglan line, 2 stitches. You can place a marker before the raglan line and a second marker after the raglan line. I will place it between them. So, the first stitch of the raglan line, the marker, and the second stitch of the raglan line. By the way, the raglan line can be knitted with other stitches and purl stitches, for example. So, my last raglan line is marked, and then I have a sleeve that goes 10 stitches. I reach the beginning of the row. Here is my marker. I specifically took it in a different color to see it immediately, and it turns out, here I am before the raglan line. Now from the next row we start to knit our yoke. Here are our 6 rows starting from this point. So, how will we knit the first and second rows? I will first show you 2 rows on the diagram, and then we will knit them. So, in the right side rows we will make increases before and after the raglan line. And for the wrong side rows, we will just knit according to the pattern. So, we start our first row from this point. We will immediately knit 2 stitches of the raglan line. Next we will make an increase. Then we knit the back in knit stitches. Before the second raglan line, we make an increase again. We knit this raglan line, another increase. We knit 4 stitches of our first group. We knit 4 stitches. We turn around and knit in purl stitches. Catching the 4 stitches of this sleeve, let's knit. Here is the marker. This is my start of the row. The raglan line immediately goes 2 stitches. We knit them in knit stitches. I am not making the increase here for now. Here is my raglan line. After the raglan line right here, we will make an increase. If we are making an increase after the raglan line, it means we pick up the yarn like this. I make the increase this way. This is after the raglan line. We made the increase, and then knit 25 knit stitches through the front loop. I have reached the second raglan line. Before the raglan line, I need to make an increase. If we need to make an increase before the raglan line, then I pick up the yarn like this and make the increase this way. Done. Next, we knit the stitches of the raglan line. After the raglan line, we also sew. Need to make an increase here, so I make the increase like this. That's it. And now, after the raglan line and after the increase, we need to knit 4 sleeve stitches. And we turn the knitting. Now we will knit purl stitches. I will show you the method now. We will turn the knitting and make a yarn over. But if you want to wrap the last stitch, the last of the 4 stitches, that is a completely different method. I talked about it in another lesson of mine. I will throw you a link above. There I knit an elongated back and precisely explain how to knit and how to wrap the last stitch. If we add stitches this way, I explain everything in detail there. I think you will understand. But this time, I will show a different method. We just knit 4 stitches and turn the knitting. Now we will knit purl stitches. But to avoid a hole here, we will make this kind of yarn over. Needle towards us, yarn away from us. Made the yarn over and continue knitting purl stitches. Hold it tight. We knit all purl stitches from this moment until the beginning of the row. We will meet again later. Here we are not making any additions. I reach the beginning of the row. This is my stitch that I added. We knit it just like all the others, purling through the front loop. Since we have turning rows here, I knit with granny stitches. I purl through the front loop. Here is my raglan line. We are doing this without any additions. We have knitted the raglan line. In other words, I have reached the beginning of the row. Now I need to knit 4 stitches from the opposite sleeve. Here is my beginning of the row, the purl side, and we are not making any additions here. We knit 4 stitches of this sleeve. We knitted and turned the work. Now it's our knit row. In it, we make additions. Look, we have already knitted these 4 stitches and those. Here we are right now knitting the knit row. So we are knitting these 4 stitches. Further, for the back, we make additions before and after the raglan line. We also make additions here. We knit 4 stitches of this sleeve and knit 3 stitches. Here, we complete the next group up to this point. That is, we capture 3 more new stitches of this sleeve. Next, we turn, knit purl stitches and already knit 3 stitches of this sleeve. For now, we stop here so. We turned around, therefore we make a yarn over. The thread away from you, the needle towards you. We made a yarn over, and after this, we need to knit 4 stitches to the raglan line. Here is the translated text. Therefore, I knit the knits through the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have the beginning of the row. We need to make an increase before the raglan line. We are currently making an increase here before the raglan line. If it's before the raglan line, we throw the yarn like this and pick it up with the right needle this way. We made the increase. Next, we knit 2 stitches of the raglan line. And we make another increase. This time, we do not throw the yarn. Instead, we pick it up like this, as if pulling the needle towards us. That's it. We made an increase here. Now we knit 27 stitches of the back. Since we have already added 2 stitches before the next raglan line, we have knitted to the next raglan line. Now we need to make an increase. We wrap the yarn around our finger like this. And we kind of introduce the needle away from us. We made the increase. Now we knit 2 stitches of the raglan lines. I knit the knits through the back loop. I knit in the grandmother's method, as we have turning knitting here. After the raglan line, we make an increase. We introduce the needle as if towards us. That's it. We made increases here near this raglan line. Now we knit 4 stitches that we have already knitted plus 3 stitches. Here, I have knitted these 4 stitches and reached the yarn over, which we made how to knit it so that there isn't a hole here. After these 4 stitches, we need to knit a new group of 3 extra stitches of this sleeve. So, to hide this yarn over and remove it, we knit the first stitch of this trio and the yarn over together through the front loop. Since these stitches, the 3 stitches, come from circular knitting, that means we will knit them through the front loop accordingly. We knit the first stitch of 3 together with the yarn over through the front loop, like this. We have knitted, this is the first stitch out of 3 that we need to add, so we knit 2 more stitches through the front loop, since here we had circular knitting. We added and turned the knitting. We move to the purl row. To ensure there are no holes here, we make a yarn over and knit purl stitches. For me, this is a grandmother's stitch through the front loop. We have no more increases here. From this point it turns out. We have turned and unknitting purl stitches to this point, and we will add 3 more stitches here. Before the start of the row, I knit purl stitches. There we will meet again. Here I reach the start of the row. Here's the stitch that we added before the raglan line. We, as usual, knit it just like all the other purls through the front loop. Next is my raglan line. We knit the purl row without increases. The second stitch of the raglan line, and our increase near the raglan line. We knitted the purl row evenly. We reached the start of the row. Here's our beginning. We knit 4 stitches. We have already knitted them last time. Let's knit immediately with purl stitches. 4. Next comes our yarn over that we made. Here we have finished knitting 4 stitches. And we will also knit 3 stitches from the next group. This means we knit our yarn over together with the first stitch of the next group, the first of 3. That is, we knit our yarn over together, purl through the front loop. As usual, we knitted. This is the first of 3 stitches. We knit 2 more. We knitted and turned the knitting. Here we have knitted, it turns out, these 3 extra stitches, right? And here we go. Now at this point, we knit with knit stitches. The knit row has our increases. So we knit these stitches, 3 stitches, 4 stitches knit, then an increase, 2 raglan stitches, another increase. Next comes our back. Here it is no longer 25 stitches, as we are making increases here. Yes, we are knitting the back. Next, another increase before the raglan line. The raglan line, another increase. Next, 4 stitches. We knit 3 stitches. We knit 3 stitches. From the next group, we turn around. We knit purl stitches without increases. We knit 3 stitches from this group of this sleeve. Here we are. So, we knit 3 stitches, 4 stitches. Since we have turned the work, we make a yarn over. The yarn goes from us to us and we continue knitting with knit stitches. 1, 2, 3 stitches. Next, we knit 4 stitches, 4 stitches. Here is the start of the row, the marker. After this, we have 1 more stitch. This is our increase. We knit it with a knit stitch. Next comes the raglan line. We have a knit row. We make increases before the raglan line. We pass the yarn over like this, and insert the needle from us. Next, the stitches of the raglan line. After this, we make another increase. Now we insert the needle as if towards us. We made the increase, then we knit the back stitches to the next raglan line. Here we are. We make an increase before and after the raglan line. So we make an increase like this before the raglan line. Then 2 raglan stitches. After the raglan line we made an increase, that's it after that. We knit to our yarn over that we made. Here we arrived at the yarn over. It is immediately noticeable, as there is a large gap, like a little hole. So, we knitted these 2 groups and plus the increases we made here. Here we have finished knitting up to this point. We need to knit 3 extra stitches more. Here our raglan line ends, and we have 3 stitches left. We knit them. The first of the 3 we knit together with this yarn over, as a knit stitch through the front loop. In order to eliminate this extra yarn over, we knitted 1 stitch, which means the second and third stitches of our last group. We knitted up to this raglan line. That is, we have knitted this trio. That's it. We turn the knitting. We knit with purl stitches. But after each turn of the knitting, we make a yarn over like this. Next, we continue to knit purl. I knit to the beginning of the row. Here I reached the beginning of the row. Here, I need to knit 4 stitches. Then these 3 stitches, meaning these 2 groups, and knit the last 3 stitches of this sleeve. Here we also have extra stitches as we make increases, so we knit 2. Our yarn over that we knitted, here is our yarn over, and here is the raglan line, here it is. So, we should have 3 stitches here. So, our raglan line ends, and there are 3 stitches left that we need to knit plus the yarn over. Therefore, we knit the first of the 3 stitches and the yarn over together as a purl through the front loop, and the last 2 stitches. We just finished knitting up to our raglan line. We knitted these 3 stitches, that is to say, our last group. And here, that's it, we finished the yoke. Now we are here, near the raglan line. I will turn around now. I will continue with knit stitches until the beginning of the row, and make an increase before the raglan line. Since we are at the very beginning, when we started knitting the first row, we did not make an increase here. Therefore, I will do it now. My start of knitting will be right here. So we are turning the knitting to the front side. Let's proceed. We make a yarn over and knit with knit stitches until the beginning of the row. Since this is still turned knitting, we knit through the back loop. Well, I have reached the beginning of the row, as I noted in a footnote earlier in the video. This marker for the beginning of the row did not need to be moved before the increase. This means all increases had to be made before the beginning of the row. Since I moved it like this and started making the increase before the raglan line, I ended up with 2 extra stitches here. And this is already where the raglan line begins, this one. Therefore, I will move the marker a little now. That is, I will knit these 2 stitches as knit stitches now. And I will place the marker right before the beginning of the raglan line. That way, my increases will be before the marker. So we mark the beginning of our row. It is right here before this raglan stitch. That's it, we finished our row. And here we need to make an increase. It turns out not moving the marker. So this is how we should always knit before the raglan line. We always move the yarn like this. We insert the needle away from ourselves. In other words, we made the increase and then only moved the marker. That way, everything will be fine, so that the marker is directly in front of the raglan line. We made the increase and reached the beginning of our row, just like that. As we calculated, we knitted 6 rows. We created a small growth on the back at the top. This is how it looks. This is our front, and this is the back. It's not very visible now. Once we knit a bit more, this growth will of course be visible. After we made an increase here and reached the start of the row, we begin our first round. In this first round, we will knit without any increases, as our previous round had increases. We will also make increases here, every other row. So, the next row will be without any increases. We are knitting the raglan line stitches. Here, we are knitting the knit stitches through the back loop. Since we had turned knitting here, I used the grandmother's method. In the next row, we will knit all the knit stitches through the front loop. Since we are transitioning to round knitting. Here, I have reached our yarn over. We knit it together with the raglan line stitch as a knit stitch through the front loop. we knitted it through the front loop. This is our raglan line. Next, we will knit the knit stitches through the front loop in this row. Since we are starting to knit the front, and we did not touch it while working on the growth, here the stitches are set as they are in round knitting. I have reached this raglan line. Here is my second raglan line stitch. And here is the yarn over that we also need to remove. I will remove it by knitting this yarn over and the raglan line stitch together through the front loop. I somehow pulled this yarn over too tightly. It is tight for me. This stitch is very tight. This is how I knitted one knit stitch. Next I continue knitting with knit stitches. Here we are already knitting through the front loop until the start of the row. We have reached the start of the row. Already in the next row we will make increases. I will not demonstrate again. Everything there is elementary. So, now we need to recount the stitches. The number of stitches for the sleeves must be equal. The number of stitches for the back must equal the number of stitches for the front. Well, I have recounted my stitches, everything matched for me. I ended up with 13 stitches for the sleeves and 31 stitches for both the front and the back. For the front, we calculated that there should be 31 stitches. It has remained the same since we haven't touched the front. And my back also turned out to be 31 stitches. That's it. We have this kind of yoke. It will be at the back. With a slight elongation at the top back, there is a small dip in the front. If you wanted a slightly deeper dip, you could knit a few more rows. And include a few stitches from the front, as we discussed in our theoretical lesson. After knitting the yoke, we continue with the raglan from the top down, making increases before and after each raglan line. Most often, increases are made every other row. That is, in every second row. I will conclude here. Enjoy your knitting. If you have questions, write in the comments. If this video helped you, support it with a like.